Hi folks, I'm the Bald Guy. Today on Bald Guy Basics, we're going to be looking at polishing up old knives. It's a bit humorous to me where I'm at in this video. I'm recording this with a GoPro and trying to get better video quality. I bought a lens that will help look at things up close, and I made this whole video. Had a couple of knives that needed polishing. The lens did not work out. So here I am preparing to tell you how to polish a knife, and I'd like to show you how to polish a knife. And I have polished every knife in my possession within an inch of its life. So I'm going to show you what I have done today. And I'm going to show you how to do it on a piece that's not really ideal for this. But I'm a bit of a knife collector. I love pocket knives. Let me put my glasses on here, even though they're going to reflect. I love pocket knives. But as I have stated in other videos, I am a cheapskate. So if there's a way for me to get a bargain, I'll do it. And that bargain includes wheeling and dealing and, pleading poverty and all those things. But you can buy pocket knives through, there are a number of Facebook groups where they actually hold auctions and people auction their collection, and a lot of them are dealers. And new knives, if you're looking at case knives, which are, by the way, my favorite, case knives can be incredibly expensive. I have seen a single one case pocket knife sell for $4,500. Not going to happen on my budget. I see a lot of pocket knives that go well over $100 for a knife that is not even that rare, but they're new knives. So I'm always got an eye out for used knives, which for collector's value, used knives start to come down, especially if they've been used a lot. This particular knife is a little over 50 years old. And the way I got it, there was an off-brand knife guy was selling that really didn't command much of a price. So to kind of sweeten the pot, he put 3 other knives in it, and this was the best of the bunch. It's just a little case pen knife, I guess, from about 50 odd years ago. It was made in the early 60s. And when I got it, the bolsters were pretty yellow. This is a bone handle. It's a pocket rub bone, but it was very dull. And the blades were oxidized pretty badly. Now, I can't make an old knife look absolutely new without really altering the metal, in other words, grinding it down, and I don't want to do that. But because I appreciate having a knife that looks pretty good, I decided, since this knife was in such bad shape, in fact, you'll see the emblem, the case emblem is gone, and there's a pin crack on this side which you may or may not be able to see. So this knife doesn't have value. But I got the 4 knives for $19. So when I got this one, I'll show you the implements needed to turn an old, pretty dingy knife into a better looking knife. Number one, you need a knife. The second item, the only other item that you'll probably have to pay for, is this. This is case paste. It is paste specifically designed for those mirror finish knives for removing carbonation, oxidization, if I'm saying all that correctly. It's just, it's kind of like silver polish. It's a very, very, very fine abrasive. And the other thing I'm going to ask you to find is a piece of leather. Now, I've done some videos on leather, so sometimes I'll just take a piece of leather and just over here off camera, I must have 50 or 60 little squares that I have just cut for various, I use them for spacers. I use them for a lot of different things. So when I got these knives, I actually did a video on a strap for my sander, a strop strap, which you could put on your power sander, but maybe you don't have a belt sander. So what I did is I just took one of these pieces of leather. Let me get a new one here. And you'll see they're finished on one side, and on the other it's kind of a raw finish. I started to say suede, but it's not really suede. But what I simply do, open my case paste here, and I'm going to change the camera angle so you can see my workspace. But I just take this, and all of that black, that's the oxidation that's come off the knives. I just put a very, very small little bit here, and you rub on your knife. And the more you rub, you're working this paste into the leather gets softer. So you're able to clean the knife, to polish the knife, and to remove a fair amount of the discoloration off of it. So I'm going to pause the video here. I'm going to change our angle so that you can see down here on my work surface exactly what I'm doing. And it might give you a neat idea for how you can clean up some knives. Now, I'll say this, if you don't have leather handy, as I do, one of the things you can do, guys, especially if you have an old work belt that's worn out, or a belt that has I have trouble at times with the little set screws that hold the buckle into the leather. Once those pull out, you wonder, well, can it be fixed? Perhaps, but I don't throw the leather away because I can make odd little things like this. So take a piece of leather, and if it has like a veneer, a real shiny, like a dress belt would have, take your knife or take some sandpaper and erode that away, because there's usually a leather core underneath that will make really good, and you can just cut these things up into pieces, and it does really nicely. When I polish with, for example, a rag, you can do it with a rag, but I have had times when putting the pressure on there, I've touched the edge of the blade with my finger and I've ended up with a bloody finger. So using a piece of leather works really well. So I'm going to rub on this knife a little bit, and then I got a piece of a utility knife here, an old-fashioned utility knife that has a lot of oxidation. It's not smooth, so I'm not going to get a mirror finish, and I'll tell you that right up front, but you can at least see the process. So bear with us and we'll polish some knives together. All right, if you're wondering why my face is off camera, well, it makes it easier on the camera, but I'm still here. What I have here on my bench top, something that I've used many times, let me clean it up a little bit. I've got a piece of a 2x10 here that makes a perfect work surface for me. When I'm drilling, when I'm cutting, I use the other side, and you can see this side has really got the abuse on it. But when I'm doing projects like this, it makes a great place to apply pressure. So one of the things I want to do is to brace my knife, and in bracing the knife, it keeps me from putting extra pressure on the pins and on the other elements here, and it allows me to press down with it and to polish. And my leather pad gives me an extra bit of it's more solid than a rag, for one thing. And I'm just putting a couple of fingers of pressure on here and working this case paste in. Case paste, by the way, you should be able to find a tube for less than $10. You can find it on Amazon. I will often buy stuff like this on eBay, because often eBay dealers, you can just find it a little bit cheaper that way. Case paste, as long as it's sealed, should not really have an expiration date. I mean, have you ever seen a tube of silver paste that that expired? The only time they expired is when they have been left open and they dry too much. And just by doing that, you can't tell any difference in that knife, but I can. You can't tell it because I had already polished it. So what we're going to do, I'm going to close this one up, put it to the side. Now I have an old utility knife. Let me show you how this thing works. Pretty cool. This whole thing is a blade. You sharpen it on your grinder, but there's a set screw on this side so you can control how much actual blade is exposed. But what you can do here, you can see just how corroded this is, and I say corroded, it's actually oxidized. It's not rust, but you can see how discolored it is. Now, I ran this over my strop on my belt sander weeks ago, so you can see a little bit of change of color there. So what we're going to do for this particular video, we're just going to go back over here, and I'm going to apply a fair bit of case paste. And just while we're talking here, I'm going to use my leather hand strop, we'll call it, and just start the process. Now you see here, I'm not breaking a sweat, I'm not straining, I'm not grunting, I'm just pressing down, and you're going to see the same results that I see. I've not done this particular piece of metal before, so I'm showing you the process. I can't guarantee our results. A little more Oh, I can tell that it's really making a difference here. This particular metal has vertical striations on it. I suppose that it was cut with some sort of a bandsaw or some similar device. So I can see the marks here, but we're done. Well, we're not done, but we've done all I'm going to. So I've polished here and not here. And in just those few seconds, you can make that much of a difference. In a knife that, where'd I put it? Like this, that had originally a mirror finish, you can get some really fine results, not only on the knife blade, but on the pins, on the back spring, on the bolsters, on everything. And it even, on this one, there was a lot of, basically it's hand oil and pocket gunk. Builds up over the years because in handling it, you transfer oil from your fingers to the bone, and then it, especially if you've got anything sticky on your hands, then it goes in your pocket and it picks up lint. Especially if you, being a user, you're often going to use a knife and you're going to get grease onto it. And that polish just took all of that off very well. And the advantage of polish for a knife is that it doesn't leave marks. When you use power equipment, for example, people have, even with a strop, if they use it high speed and they put the wrong abrasive on it, rather than a case paste, they use a little of that wax abrasive that comes in those little cubes. You'll end up with clouding the surface, or you will end up with marks that move in the same direction as your strop is turning. So by doing this, I can use little circular motions, but the abrasive is so fine that it leaves no mark. It just takes away as much of the surface discoloration as is possible. And that will be a really handy thing. So I've been using this particular tube of case paste. By the way, it comes in a nice case colored box. These are the same boxes that Case Knives came in back in the 60s and early 70s. But for 10 bucks, I've been using this for months, and I haven't even got past the first few squeezes, I should say, because it doesn't take much. And just to continue to illustrate, I'll go over here on what I had stropped by hand by the belt sander, and I'll touch that up by hand, and you'll even see a difference there. Now I'm seated, so I can't put my weight on this. I'm just doing this with pressure that I can apply by 2 fingers, and I'm not putting a lot of pressure on it. If I really wanted to put pressure, I would stand up and actually put my weight on it. And you can see I'm taking surface oxidation off time after time. So there's the side we've polished on. There's the side that's not been polished on. I see a lot of goop up here on the spine. So for your own tools, and by the way, this case paste will work on a lot of tools that would have a high gloss finish, but especially your pocket knives. Every man ought to have a pocket knife. I already have knives that my grandson, who is presently 5½, it won't be long before I give him his first pocket knife, and his first pocket knife will be a dull pocket knife. But teach him over the years, not just the fact that, here's a fact for you, there's an inherent danger in being a man. It's not dangerous to be a man. I'm saying men are capable of danger. We're capable of great good, and we're capable of great harm. And one of the things about growing up is learning how to harness our inherent danger so that we would be of benefit to our family, to our friends, to our society. And one of the ways we do that is we learn to take care of things. We learn maintenance. We learn how to tear things up, and we learn how to put things back together. We learn that, our society is so different today than what I grew up in. When I was a child and an adolescent, you didn't throw razors away. We didn't have disposable razors. We had razors and you put new blades in them. If your ink pen ran out of ink, you put a new pen in, what do they call those things? The refill. We put the refill in them. And today we throw everything away. We don't fix things. There is a great benefit. I think there's a psychological benefit when we learn to take something that doesn't work and we help it to work again. So this is just one of the ways I call this therapy for the soul, but I often smile when I think of what this looked like. I wish I had taken a picture of this before I had cleaned it up, but it's not a new knife, but I could actually sell this knife now for more than the $19 that I paid for 4 knives. So just keep in mind that there are ways to do things, and as you learn to do things, maybe you can share those tips and that advice with us, and we will all be better. So this is the Bald Guy, hoping that you find a good pocket knife for you and you learn to keep it clean. And if you like these videos, please hit subscribe, leave us a like, even share it to your social media. You can also find these. I don't update the Facebook page as often, but I post these to YouTube first, and then I'll post the link from Facebook to YouTube so that you can see them. However, if you want to contact me directly, I know you're looking at my hands, but that's just where I'm at right now. Just go to the Facebook /Bald Guy Basics, and there's a message button there. You can hit a message that will come directly to me, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Have a wonderful day, and keep your pocket knife sharp and clean.